Let's go ahead and get started. Thanks everyone for joining us today. We've got some exciting stuff coming out. We've got a new product launch. So we're gonna go through a live demo here and walk through all the different features and functions. Just a quick agenda. We'll start with introductions. We'll kind of run through like an evolution or light high-level history of why SiftedAI. Then we'll jump right into the live demo, and we'll focus specifically on the new products that we're rolling out. And then we'll have some time for Q&A. Of course, if you have any questions along the way, feel free to drop them into the chat, and we will get to as many of those as we possibly can. So I'm Jeremy Lee. I'm the head of sales. Been with the organization for quite some time. Those of you that have seen any of our demos before or worked with us, also joined by our principal solutions engineer, Will Green. Lucky to have him. He's going to be running the demo part. I'll run through the background of what led us to this point. Then, of course, we'll both be available for questions and everything towards the end. So to kind of start off, like looking at the evolution of Sifted, and what we're focusing on today is our new 3PL solutions, or solutions for 3PLs. When we started, about 20 years ago, we were born out of a shipper, and a lot of our solutions were designed for other shippers like us, for folks that were shipping direct. They were designed to help you run your business a little bit more efficiently, make sure that you were having a good pulse on your spend and really controlling your costs. But there's a lot more that happens in the market. So as time went on, we started to realize that there was a clear gap in the market for solutions for 3PLs themselves. But looking at what we developed so far, if we looked at it through a slightly different lens, we had the foundations of a lot of those solutions that could help those 3PLs not just manage their business, but become more successful and more efficient. The issues that we were hearing as we were working with folks like that, they range from sales to finance, client success, operations. On the sales side, we want to win business. We want to win business faster, and we want to make sure that we are extremely competitive in the market. And what we were hearing from those teams were, it was very cumbersome and time consuming to be able to put together a proposal for their clients, trying to, work through the data and understand where they actually needed to be at, and also control their margins. The same from finance teams. They're under pressure to make sure that they're getting all of the invoices managed, that they're getting, billing processed out to their clients in a quick fashion, and being as accurate as they possibly can. Client success didn't really have a way to necessarily show, what was going on with their accounts or their different brands that they're supporting. They didn't have that clear visibility. So then we look at operations, like, are we still operating, best in class? What types of, suggestions or recommendations can we bring to our different brands that we're working with to help them be better as well? And make sure that, of course, we have a single source of truth to say, hey, this is what's going on. So taking all those different ideas brought us to, the solution that we've put together today. So rolling out a suite of solutions that is going to help actually drive, a 3PL forward, and cover everything from, the go-to-market strategy all the way to the back-end operations. So that's why we're really excited. This week we went live with our brand management functionalities, with a huge focus on, winning business faster, making sure that you can retain business and improve your customer satisfaction, automate those back-end financials, and making sure that you have clear detail all the way down to make sure that you have, trust and alignment with your clients. And then, of course, managing your business, your spend, your performance, and maintaining your margins as well. Making this all seamless, automating as much as possible so that you can be as successful as you possibly can. So what's inside brand management? We've got a margin optimization tool that's going to help you manipulate markups globally or at the account or service level. allowing you to get those proposals out or better understand like where you're winning and where you're losing. That then rolls into our proposal generator. So you can quickly and easily create those pricing proposals. You're not going to spend, you know, days or weeks trying to sort through invoices and doing like an average and a best guess type of thing. You're going to be able to actually understand how much it's going to cost you to serve that client and how much, profit margin you're going to have. And if it's not quite right when you're in negotiations, you can make those adjustments on the fly in real time so that you can get that deal done. Brand invoice details, making sure that you can see all the way down to the line item detail, and so can your brands that are working with you, so they understand and trust that what you're doing behind the scenes is in the best interest of their brand, but also represents what you all agreed to at the beginning. And then, of course, company configuration, putting the power in your hands to win those new accounts, set them up inside of your system so that you can move at the speed of success. So with all of that, let's jump in. I'm going to turn it over to Will and let him jump right into the tool.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. And really appreciate all the background and context there. So, like as you mentioned, we've already been serving a lot of 3PL customers today through our existing tools and products. However, really want to focus this demonstration on the new pieces of functionality that we're rolling out under brand management specifically. And kind of keeping in theme here with, the flow that Jeremy just walked through. We really want to start off with developing tools that, at the beginning can help 3PLs win new business. And so that's where combining our margin optimization and proposal generator functionality can really come into light. And I'm just going to walk through a simple flow from beginning to end, just kind of walking through, hey, here's how I would go about loading in some prospective customer data, putting together a proposal, and then moving them over to a client and invoicing them going forward. So today, in this scenario, I have received a file from my customer walking through package level details. It's a pretty common use case that we've heard from our 3PL customers that they're having to work with, just messy package level data or messy data files from their prospects or their brands in order to understand what their shipping profile and put together a potential quote and markups on top of that. And you really come back to that prospective customer with a strong proposal to win business. And it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of work to mess through that messy data. So for this demonstration, I have an example file here that I received from a prospect. It's very high level, just showing services and weights and zones. So very basic information. And it's a little bit messy here. But I'm going to walk through how Sifted can help me use this file to rate all of these shipments and add my own markups to it and start calculating my potential margins.
And Will, I
So
think it's also important to kind of pull out on that file right there, or show. Oftentimes, like we're hearing that 3PLs aren't even always getting cost visibility into like what a brand might be currently paying. And so in
yeah,
addition, they're trying to guess at that aspect also.
yeah, exactly. There's a lot of limited and varying information that makes this, a really complicated process. And so I think that's the first major win of the tool that we're going to walk through here. I can seamlessly come in here and I can create a new brand and, I'll just call this brand Green e-commerce. And what a brand is essentially a representation of this prospective customer inside the Sifted platform. So once I create this brand, I can start assigning data and markups to it to apply throughout the platform. The first thing I have to do, though, once I have it created, is actually load in some data to work with. Now, Sifted has created a really streamlined template to work with package level data. So if you need a file to provide to prospects, you can come in here, download this template, and ask for the data to be formatted in this way. However, we all know in the real world that's not likely to happen. So as we walk through this, we'll show how you can actually map whatever file you receive to a clean data set to work off of to build in your rate analysis. So I'm going to load in that file that I just had pulled up. And the first thing I'm going to see is we have our standardized columns over here to the left, and then I have my columns that the customer named it over here to the right. I can actually use this auto map functionality. It's a really intelligent tool where it'll attempt to go and map my customer named columns to the generic columns here to work off of. So I can have a clean starting point. Did a very good job on a first pass. I just have a couple things here that I need to clean up. I can see there's some required fields that we need. So things like which service we're using, how much the package actually weighs, things like that is all required to do to do any sort of writing with it. So I need to come in here and make sure those required fields are actually in place. But once I've done that, I'll be able to move on forward with the mapping process. So one more field here I need to grab, and then as I move on, it's going to start transforming this file and mapping my customer file into a more normalized column layout for the tool to work with. But the next step I'm going to have to actually do is start working with those services that the customer provided me, because it's not just the column layouts that can be confusing. You can come in here and you can see a variety of different service names from the customer here. So we've created a generic service type over on the left. And this allows me to come in here and actually say, okay, the customer is calling this field first overnight, but I know that that's going to map to the next day air AM service inside of the tool. And I can do a quick mapping here. HD, that's something that could be, hard to understand, but I'm thinking that's probably home delivery or a ground residential service. And it just takes a few moments in here to map these over. Like a sure post shipment, that's going to be coming to the new ground economy type modes. And then once I've applied these mappings, I can now move forward to the next step. And the Sifted platform is going to be transforming that messy data file that my customer provided into this new cleaned up version based off the mapping rules I just set here. And so it's going to take a moment to load the file in and apply that mapping. And once that's done, it's going to show me a sample of my data and make sure that this is actually what I'm trying to load. Everything looks right. Once it is, I can confirm by hitting complete. And now it's going to start ingesting the file. But even more than that, it's not just going to load the data into the platform. It's actually going to start using Sifted's rating engine that powers other products of ours, like our contract modeling tool and our contract compliance tool, to go through and actually look at each of those packages. We'll look based off of the provided weights and dimensions to see if it flagged any handling or large package surcharges. We'll look at the zip codes to see if there's any potential, DAS or EDAS surcharges. And then we're going to rate that file based off of those criteria once it's loaded. So now I can go to the next screen here and start actually seeing the results of this analysis. And so down here at the bottom, it's going to create a quick summary for the data I just loaded. It's going to show the number of shipments I pulled in and the freight cost, the surcharge cost, and the total cost for each one of these. And these are going to be with my contracts that I have set up and have loaded into the Sifted platform. But the next step here is actually, I don't want to just surface, my cost to my prospect. I want to be able to apply markups and, calculate margins on this. So that's where the top here comes into play. We've allowed customers the ability to come in here and work off of a markup or markdown type model, whichever they prefer. You can come in here and select if I want to apply a flat standard charge or if I want to start applying markups by specific services and accessorials. So I can actually say, okay, for express services, maybe I want a 15% markup. I can go service by service and apply the markup I want. So if I'm doing this, different markups for different service types, I can actually account for that logic here. And I can do this at a percent level, or I can apply a flat dollar level as well. And if I was doing a markdown type model, the calculations would actually do a percent off of list rates to calculate the customer cost.
And
I'm
that's
going to
really
go ahead.
cool because, I mean, that part right there, the markdown aspect of it allows you, the 3PL, to start building pricing agreements almost like how you would receive them from the carriers. And so as, the carriers make changes and everything, those are going to flow right through with either direction, but you can actually start making those agreements and standardizing those types of things.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it makes it a lot easier to maintain as, the years roll on. You have to start going through GRIs and start, doing that extra math every single time it comes around. Working with a, markdown model allows a much more, potentially efficient way to operate. It's just, it can be challenging to do the initial calculations and put together initial proposals off that type of system. And so this is where a tool like this can really come into play to help make that math easy. And so what I've done is I've applied my markups in here, and now I'm running the simulation. So it's going to actually start working off of the data that I've loaded in here and applying that math and showing me what is my total margin percentage based off what I've applied, and what does that equate to from a profit perspective. And it's going to break that down for me across my carriers and services. And so now I can review the results of this analysis and say, okay, is, based off of the proposal I put together, do I think one, is this going to be competitive for my customer? And two, am I staying within a margin percentage that's going to be profitable for me and my business? And I can keep coming up to the screen above and tweaking these calculations up here and rerunning my models until I land at a spot that, I find comfortable to go to my customer with a proposal with. Now, the next step here would actually be putting that proposal together. And so that's where the proposal generator functionality comes in. And so essentially I can come in here and I can choose the brands that I just, ran my analysis for, or any previous brand that I've loaded into the platform. Actually, you can see we have a list here that we've been working with. And now I'm going to have two views I can work outside of. The first view is going to be my brand view. It's going to take all that data that we were looking at previously, and it's going to remove your actual cost from these analytics so that we can put together a view that you can take to your prospect and show them, hey, like not only is this what we're proposing from like a cost perspective, but we can say, hey, here is what you're going to be spending by service, by weight. Here's our ideal carrier utilization for you that we're putting together here, and really provide, a lot of detail for them to understand what's going on. But if all they want is, potentially that package level file back from you where you took their data and rated it and showed them your cost, we're automating that process as well. So you can see on this package level results screen, we actually are able to showcase the proposed cost that the customer, that you're going to be proposing to the customer based off the service and carrier that we've rated. If the customer did provide the original cost with that file, we could load that in as well. But as Jerry made the point earlier, a lot of times customers don't want to share that with, prospective 3PL partners, during the negotiation piece. And then finally, we'll also actually put together a comprehensive rate card for each of the services that are included in here. So your standard layout of service, broken down by weight, by zone, and we'll do this for each service inside of the model as well. And all of these can be exported individually, or you can come into any individual visualization and export just a single piece. So if I'm comfortable with this information, I can go up to the top of the screen here and I can just say, hey, let's export that package level details file as a CSV to send to my customer. And I'm going to export the PDF here to kind of show these more visualizations to summarize everything.
I think that that net rate sheet at the bottom there is just really awesome. It allows, you to sit side by side with your prospect. Like, yeah, you can show this the presentation, the graphs, and the charts, and where they're where all the cost is going to go. But this is something that, I mean, you can literally leave behind with, your prospect to sit there and go side by side, service by service, weight and zone, and compare to like what they currently have and what they don't have. And if you're not quite right, this is where you can really fine tune, those proposals and make sure that you get it right rather than go back to the drawing board and hope to get back in front of, this prospect in, a couple days, maybe the following week, right? Like you have their attention right now. Let's get the deal done right now.
Yeah, 100%. And the flip side of that too is having the visibility for you to understand in detail what is driving your margin with this prospective customer. And so similar to the first page we were on the margins view, we have this internal view as well that brings back in the actual cost that the 3PL would be paying directly to the carrier so they can compare what their spend is to their income from their customers. They can see really clear visualizations on margin, what's driving your profit by service, by weight, and help you make those decisions like, hey, do I need to cut a little bit here for a specific service to be more profitable on another, make it up in a different category. And we're breaking this out not just by service type, but we'll do this by surcharges here as well. We'll have it broken out by things like handling, fuel, again, residential delivery, DAS. And then on this page as well, similar to how you had the package level detail on the previous page for your customers, we're also showing the full rating results here for you to review so that you can actually see not just the customer's quoted cost, but you can see by package, by charge, what the service guide price is, what your discount is, and what the net amount is for you to be paying here. And so it really just provides a lot of granularity to make sure that, when you're going to market with this customer, you understand down to the line item level where you're actually going to be seeing your, we're going to be winning, we're going to be seeing your margin and plan for future relationship with the customer.
Well, it looks like we had a question come in, and it was, how do you do the rating on the back end? I know we kind of touched
Yeah.
on that, initially, but I think maybe a little bit more elaboration is what they're looking for.
Yeah, that's a great question. So those unfamiliar with Sifted, you may not be aware we have other tools. One of our core modeling tools is actually called contract modeling. And so Sifted has actually developed a rating engine where we're able to digitize shippers' contracts, specifically currently with FedEx and UPS, but we're enhancing support for carriers like Amazon, USPS, OnTrack, DHL, et cetera. And so what we do is we digitize those contracts into our system and then apply our rating system to that. And so we can actually go charge by charge through every shipment that gets loaded into our platform and rate them against your current agreement to calculate the contractual costs for each and every charge. And so that's what we're doing here behind the scenes is we're using that same functionality that we use for our contract modeling, and then we're taking your agreements using our contract engine to rate them and then doing the additional math of applying the markups so that we can start seeing the margin on top of it. And I think from here, we can maybe hopefully we can assume that we've gone with a very competitive bid to our prospective customer and they've agreed to start working with us. And now I want to start having their data flow into the Sifted platform and being able to start separating this customer's data from other customers' data. And that's where our new feature around company configuration comes in. And what this allows me to do is after I'm starting to see invoice data flow into the platform. And so Sifted works off of pulling in carrier invoice data will connect directly to your carriers on your behalf and ingest their invoice information. But it can be hard inside of just, a bunch of data to disseminate, oh, this shipment belongs to this customer, that shipment belongs to that customer. What this company configuration allows me to do is turn these brands, these potential prospects I have, into companies or actual customers that I'm working with. So I could take that green ecom company that we set a proposal to, and after they sign with me and they're shipping on my rates, I can actually come in here and link them to an actual, sub company inside of Sifted, so that as the carriers invoice me, Sifted is automatically segmenting out this company's data so I can easily isolate shipments that belong to them. And that's basically done by this rules engine down here, where I can say, hey, anything that ships on this main FedEx account number, and maybe it has a specific value in a reference field or it has a specific GL code. A lot of different logic here we can leverage. I'm just going to do a very simple example here. Say, hey, anything that ships on this FedEx account number and has a reference to value of 12345, that I know that that's a green ecom shipment. So I want Sifted to automatically isolate those and segment them out so I can easily identify them in my data. And I can come in here, I can set this company up, I can test this out, and then I can say, hey, I want to apply this rule historically. So if I've been invoicing this, been ingesting invoice information for this customer for a while, I can backfill data. Or if this is only a go forward rule, I can set this up on or after a specific date and then create the company. And what
And
this
that's really
allows,
cool
oh,
right there is like the historical part is like, okay, this is a new product, right? So folks might be wondering like, okay, is this like something that I can now apply like on a go forward, but everything historically? But no, like you can come in there and if you had those markers on your invoices or in those fields and you signed up here, like we can apply this historically. Now you can see historically all of the detail for the brands that you're working with.
yeah, exactly. And what the impact is basically combining the margin setups that we walked through at the beginning with this company configuration. Now Sifted has the ability to take the logic we set up for identifying customer companies in my data set and applying those margins that I've set up. So I can select the companies in here that I've built out. I just have a demo company saved in this environment, but I can see how I've set up my adjustments. I have a 10% markup for all services, then a $1 markup for all accessorials here. And then we can break this out again by saying, okay, what's my profit for these invoice shipments? So this is actually taking data that the carrier has invoiced me as a 3PL and then showing me what I need to charge my customer, charge by charge, shipment by shipment. And I can see, hey, here's what, I paid, here's what I'm charging my customer, and here's my profit off of each charge. And then I can switch over to the billing details view here, and this will pull out all of that information that shows what I paid, and it'll just show a package profile and then a final total cost here for the customer. And so I can actually come up now and export this data as an Excel or CSV and then send over a detailed invoice to my customer, line iteming out every single shipment and charge that they've been billed by the carrier, and really showing a lot more detail behind the scenes. Instead of just rolling up a total cost for them, you can explain to them, hey, service by service, charge by charge, line by line. This is why we're billing you what we're billing you. This is where your cost is going, and provide a lot more visibility and clarity, and really just driving a stronger relationship between the 3PL and their customer.
I think this is like huge right there. Not only is it time consuming to break down all of the different invoices and try to like aggregate your different brands so that you can actually process billing, especially if you want to, limit any sort of, I guess, cash being paid out to the carriers, or you're basically floating, the paid invoices to the carriers, right? You want to invoice as quickly as possible so that you can receive cash from your brands and make sure that you're cash flow positive in those situations. But more importantly, building that trust and that transparency with the brands that are working with you to show them that, like, hey, this isn't just an aggregated number that says, hey, you had X amount of shipments and collectively it costs this amount. Like, please pay us ASAP. This is showing them, hey, this is every single ship, every single line item that was charged for everything that went out. And you can match it up with the agreement that we all signed and came into this partnership with. And so with that trust and that data integrity, the strength is there. And then as the carriers make changes, we see GRIs, different charges added throughout the year. That's going to help keep your clients connected with changes in the market because they've set aside the operations and trusted you with those operations. Um, this is going to help them stay connected because oftentimes once you've set aside or stepped away from that part, you lose that connection and you forget how much the industry changes on a regular basis. Well, we had another question that kind of popped in here. It says, this seems like an easy to use tool. Looks like it'll save, sales, accounting teams a ton of time, helping ensure accurate quoting, margins, etc. The question here is there a limit to the number of customers that we can add for this tool?
Yeah, no, great question there. I mean, I would say from just like a technical capability, there's no real limit to the number of customers that you could leverage this with. And that goes both for prospective customers and existing customers, right? So you could obviously be sourcing proposals for multiple different brands out there, and you could just keep reusing the tool and uploading data specifically for each one to your heart's content. And then, as it comes on, you start onboarding customers, whether you end up getting, dozens or hundreds loaded into this tool, we have the ability to segment those out. So from a technical perspective, there's not a limit.
It's awesome. That's right. Go win them all.
Yeah, 100%. And I'll just kind of echo what Jeremy has said here. We're really excited to roll this out because again, it's a lot of functionality and feature that we've had, on the back end and have used mainly directed for shippers. But once we kind of start thinking of things in a different light and start, listening to our 3PL customers and the gaps that they're having to deal with on a day-to-day basis and, the inefficiencies that they see there, we feel really excited about the value that we can start delivering with these two tools, and we hope to just continue rolling out enhancements and future products as we go forward.
That's exactly right. We want folks, as you get into this, if there's improvements or things that could be better in here, like let us know. Like we build things that we might think are cool, but we really need to understand and hear the feedback. And we love getting that feedback from our client base of like what they need to be better at running their business, be more efficient. So a lot of that goes into the thought and the planning and the process of, generating these tools. So this is just the start. We thought that these were some of the biggest rocks that needed to be, tackled as quick as possible. And we're just going to keep going from there.
Yeah. Now we did have a couple of questions come in through the Q&A box below. I think we've kind of walked through the new functionality here, but if you want to just take a moment, if anyone has any additional questions they want to pop into that box, please feel free. Besides that, Jeremy, do you have any closing thoughts or comments here?
I'm just really excited to get this out. We went live officially Tuesday of this week. We're already having a lot of excitement and buzz around this. Like several meetings have already been set. Of course, if you have those specific questions right now, if you're live on this demo, like pop them in the chat. We'll also make sure that there is links that you can reach out and book a meeting directly. Outside of that, I'd say, stay up to date. Make sure you subscribe to our newsletter. We run a podcast most months where we talk about different aspects of like helping make shipping a little bit more efficient, how you can be better at running your operations, better at leading your operations, etc. But yeah, we put together as much information as we possibly can to help keep everybody apprised of what's going on.
Absolutely. And if you'd really like to get deeper into the weeds with this or see a more personalized or tailored demonstration or talk about how maybe Sifted could be a fit for your business or your specific use case, please don't hesitate to reach out. Um, I don't see any new questions have come in here, so I think we can call it a wrap here.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us. We'll make sure that this gets posted out. So if there's somebody else that you think might find this interesting, share that link with them. And of course, look forward to meeting with everyone. And we'll see you again next time.